Good morning, Coalition of Concerned Republicans. Mike Levine here. Welcome to Restoring Our American Republic with my colleague Chuck Benoit, and we have got an action-packed show for you today. There's some amazingly good news coming out of the Lake County Republican Executive Committee, and the good news is that after, I'm going to say literally, certainly months, but possibly years of Ken McCard, one of our Lake County Republican Executive Committee members, pounding on the leadership team and the executive committee to adopt his E-Verify resolution. That actually happened in last month's meeting. And then there was a conversation among the board members talking about when you pass a resolution, what do you do with it? So a really robust list of recipients was created stating that every member of the Florida legislature will get a copy of the resolution, and every REC officer in the state, which would be chairman, state committeeman, and state committeewoman, would get a copy of the resolution. And the executive board at the Lake County Republican Executive Committee agreed. The cabinet too, just so you know, Florida's cabinet, the governor, all that, those people too. So the executive board agreed to the distribution list, but of course, with the underhanded, I've got other adjectives that I could use for the chairman of the Lake County Republican Executive Committee. But of course, he tabled it and just ignored it and didn't want to do anything with it because it's not in his political best interest to distribute resolutions to legislators and cabinet members and RECs around the state. He didn't do anything with it. But when it came to the attention of our brand new vice chairman, Mr. Bill Mathias, Mr. Mathias actually kept the promise and distributed the resolution to the distribution list, which is amazing. And we give great thanks to, number one, Mr. Ken McCard for persisting, and number two, to Vice Chair Bill Mathias for distributing the resolution to the distribution list. That's fantastic. And more good news, ladies and gentlemen. The Lake County Republican Executive Committee reinstated the Policy Committee, which comes up with legislative priorities for every legislative session. And the Policy Committee has been working for a couple of months on the legislative priorities for 2027. Let me bring on Chuck Benoit right now. Chuck, can you come on camera?
How are we doing this
There you go.
morning?
So let me just finish here by saying that Chuck and I are going to go over a draft of what could become the legislative priorities for the Lake County Republican Executive Committee for 2027 today with you. And then last thing is that that's quite a bit. There's like 40 bullet points here, maybe 5 categories.
I think 6.
A total of 40 bullet points. And we may have to go a little long with the broadcast today. So I'm going to turn it over to Chuck.
There we go. Well, Mike, let's just flip right on over to our screen here. And what we have, there's a couple of different pages here, and the first 3 priorities. Now, these are not necessarily in order of priority, but they could very well be pretty close. Obviously, election integrity, the first section up at the top, protection of our elections is of the utmost of our priority. I might also just quickly note that I posted on both my Facebook page and the Restoring Our Rep Facebook page all of these priorities, and we would love some feedback from any of our listeners regarding any and or all of these priorities. As much feedback as we can get. We would really love to bring that back to the REC. Is that right, Mike?
That's true. So basically what we're saying is, please, in the comment section, go through these bullet point by bullet point to the degree that you're willing to take the time and just tell us. This is either like on a 1 through 5 scale, right? 5 being very important, 1 being not important. You know, each one of these line items, is this important to you? That'd be great. We would love that. And the Lake County Republican Executive Committee would really appreciate it because we think the policy committee believes that if the priorities of the REC are not representative of the priorities of most Republicans, then they shouldn't be our priorities. So we really need you to weigh in here.
There
Go
you
ahead,
go.
Chuck.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and start. And Mike, you interrupt me whenever you feel like you have something to say. I'll try to be very attuned to that. So under protecting our elections, we have banning the outsourcing of voter roll maintenance and management,
Okay,
mandatory.
let's just go through these one at a time. I'm going to have
Okay,
something to
you're
say
going to
about
have
each
something
one, but we're
about,
going to go
okay, well,
fast.
here we go.
Okay. Okay. So number one, election integrity. I just want to say to the audience that I've been at a couple of local meetings lately, and I just asked the people in the room. I'm just a participant in the meeting like everybody else. I'm not facilitating or anything like that. But I asked the people, I have a litmus test. I'm not voting for anyone, for especially for Congress, who doesn't believe the 2020 election was stolen and we need election reform in the United States of America and here in the state of Florida. So I just want you to know that in CD11, Joe Strada did not believe that we needed that the election was stolen, or he wouldn't say that, and Kerry Baker wouldn't say it, but Tim Wilkins would. So for me, that's a litmus test. I can't vote for anyone for Congress who doesn't know that the 2020 election was rigged and stolen, Chuck. So that to me is the number one priority, and that's what we should be focused on. So let's rifle through these points under election security.
Okay, I noted banning outsourcing of voter rolls, maintenance and management, mandatory
Critically important.
mandatory annual audit, elimination of ineligible registrations, and penalties for non-compliance.
Very important, in my view.
Okay, restrict the
How about you, Chuck?
All of these are important for sure.
Okay, so you're going to give it a blanket, very important. Let's go.
There we go. Restrict the distribution of mail-in ballots to only disabled, military, and Floridians who are out of state.
Very
I guess on
important.
vacation or something like that.
Very important.
Early voting, 8 days, excluding Sunday and Monday, immediately preceding Election Day. That's a significant reduction, right?
Very important.
Yeah. Paper ballots with verifying features publicly hand counted in precincts.
I say very important.
Very
And I'm
important.
just going to add a little caveat to that, Chuck,
Yeah.
that until these voting machines are certified by military grade criterion that they are not hackable, then which is a standard for them. It is illegal in the state of Florida to use voting machines that have not conformed with military level security standards, then they should not be being used. But that is not the case. The state of Florida has not complied with the law and security tested these machines, Chuck.
There you go. Next point, poll watchers, observers, access to chain of custody throughout ballot handling process. Now, I personally, being a poll watcher, watching them set up, watching them tear down, there are issues, and I just feel like that is as well a very, very important point.
Chain of custody is critical, Chuck.
There you go. Mail-in ballots shall be processed and counted by eligible electors, not machines.
Great idea.
Randomly select 5% of precincts and recount votes by electors selected by parties. So that's a hand count.
If I was a supervisor of elections, Chuck, I would hand count every precinct just for the sake of public trust, Chuck.
There you go. That's all we, and we, possibly may only need to do it once and then realize we don't need voting machines. But if we do, voting equipment tested and certified by state auditors other than the vendors or manufacturers. And that's what
Critically important.
you were talking about regarding military.
Yep.
And then the last point under protecting our elections, advertise and increase enforcement penalties for election fraud.
Very important. That should be certainly a felony if it isn't already.
Okay, so then we have a few points under increase public safety. Ban
All
the
right.
ban the providing of taxpayer-funded services and subsidies to illegal immigrants. That's a big deal right
Very
there.
important,
That's a big deal. You know,
critically important, right?
don't give them any reason to want to be here.
Yep,
Employment verification for all private and public sector employment. That's kind of the E-Verify thing that Ken McCard was talking
correct.
about, right?
Very important. Only people who are qualified to work in the United States can be hired by anyone, government or private sector employers. Critically important.
And then finally, expand Florida State Guard. Is that what are we talking about there? This state police or
We're talking about we're talking about an iron dome. Well, the state guard is a very important piece of it, right? But Florida is a peninsula that is exposed to attack from foreign countries. Um, so the state guard is just one piece of it. But Florida is a international security risk because of our geographical location and our proximity to communist countries like Cuba, among others. But keep in mind, you've got missiles that'll go 2,500 miles or more, and we're seeing it in Iran right now. So, state of Florida, we need to have a highly critical protection plan for the state of Florida. And of course, I understand that the military does a lot of that, and we don't know about a lot of it. But I'm saying to you that as a voter and as a citizen of this state with kids and grandkids, I want this state to be locked down with a similar system to the Iron Dome, which that Iran has, which is Donald Trump's Golden Dome program. But we need to start in Florida, Chuck.
there we go. Now, just a reminder, we would really, really, really love some feedback on these priorities that have come out of this committee of the Republican Executive Committee here in Florida and Lake County. So this next one is improve Florida education. Teacher training on American exceptionalism as a requisite for certification. That teachers aren't aware of the exceptional aspirations of America and Americans, and they shouldn't be teaching our children.
Our public schools have been hijacked, Chuck,
Yes, they
by
have.
leftists, and that's true. So, while, you can make a great case for the public school system if it was properly run, but it isn't. So that's what leaves me with my um, mindset on public schools. And there's a lot more to that story. I'm not sure how important this really is. Ken McCard is a big fan of that. He came out of the education system, and this is one of his bullet points, and he's very concerned about this. And for me, I think that's great. But I think that indoctrinating people one way or the other is not such a great idea. Go ahead, Chuck.
Americanism throughout curriculum plus civic engagement and tours of state and local government. So they want hands-on government training or education at least.
And what they want to do is they want to, this really means that we have field trips and stuff to go down to the tax collector's office and the property appraiser's office and the sheriff's office and to the county commissioners and just show the kids how government actually works. Put them in a courtroom, let them watch a trial, things like that. I'm for that, but again, that would be probably a B or a C on my area of priorities.
Okay. Allow display of traditional scriptures in classrooms, for example, the Ten Commandments.
The key word is allow. Okay. So yes, I'm good with that. Again, that's pretty important. But again, we do have freedom of religion in this country. So again, I'm not opposed to that, but you're also, if you're going to do it for the Ten Commandments, you're going to wind up doing it for other religions too. So that's another kind of can of worms there. But so I'm in favor of it because it's consistent with my faith. But others may not be, and they won't want to propose their demonic scriptures too. And that's something we'll have to deal with legislatively, Chuck.
Moral teaching from historic texts and literature classes added to the curriculum. So that
I would
counts.
suggest these educate, would probably say there's already some of that in the schools, but I do believe that just literature, right? I mean, if you just expand the importance of literature in the school system, you'll accomplish a lot of that, Chuck.
Yes. Promote public school citizen advisory committees to monitor or advise operation of schools and system.
That's a can of worms too, Chuck. I
Yeah,
mean, now you're going to get a bunch of citizens, which is fine. That's what parent teacher organizations are about and stuff like that. So I think we may already have that in place, but some kind of a committee to oversee the school board, which oversees the superintendent. I think it's just redundant. Thank you.
individualized computer generated plans for student health fitness based on the presidential fitness test.
Again, I'm
Sounds
not. I think physical fitness is important. I'm just not sure that's how to do it, Chuck.
fitness through state games, school intramurals, and publicized school fitness ratings. It
I
sounds
think
like,
that's happening. Do you?
I'm sorry, did you say you thought it was happening?
We already have school sports. We already have intramurals. We have
Yeah,
all that stuff,
yeah, I think we do.
in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah. Um, homeschooling improvement support with transition to self-directed education programs. So
That's kind of my
that's, yeah, I
bailiwick
was
right
going to
there, Chuck.
say, yeah,
As you probably know,
yeah.
I'm in favor of self-directed education. There's more and more studies coming out, as I was sharing with my friend Shire McGuire a day or two ago, that there's psychologists telling us that the public school system, when we imprison our kids for 8 hours a day in the public school system, it is actually counterproductive, and they would be happier and learn more and learn faster and be more interested and enthusiastic about their curriculum if they were doing self-directed education. And that's my point of view on that one, Chuck.
There we go. And then the final on Florida education improvements, effective dis- disciplinary policies addressing teachers who introduce pornographic information.
Right. So now it's you got to be worried about being accused of a crime when you go teach in a classroom, which I believe there's a lot of abuse. Well, there's some abuse going on there, and that's why I really like self-directed education, Chuck. This way you don't have to worry about it. No more school shootings, no more of the bad, horrible, horrific things that happen in public schools. We just teach our own kids based on a curriculum that we choose with our kids for their particular career path. And that's where I'm at on that, Chuck.
There we go. Let's move on to ethics in government.
Okay.
12-year
What's
term
that?
limits. Now, 12 years is more than 8 years, right? Just making
It
sure
is.
everybody
Yeah.
knows the math.
I think 10 years is ideal, but that's just not the way
Yeah.
our office terms are set up. I think 10 years should really be the benchmark there,
And you
but
feel
we'd have to
eight,
realign some of our terms to match the 10 years.
yeah,
But
right.
that's a heavier lift. So let's just extend the by two, right?
Yeah.
And that's just one way to go. How long the term should be is debatable.
Well, just making sure I understand, you're also saying that would be a governor could run for 3 terms, not simply 2. I mean, I'm just wondering where they're
Well,
going with
that's all
this.
to be worked out in
Yeah.
the minutia of
Yeah. So,
the legislation,
so,
right?
so my feeling is that what this is really trying to talk about is, county and city officials who pretty much get elected for life. Um, and
Correct. As we're seeing in this election cycle with Leslie Campione have serving 16 years and running for another term, Sean Parks serving 16 years and running for another term. So we're seeing that once these people get into office, they really don't like going back to work or anything like that. So, that I would agree with that. But again, this makes it very easy. If you just take 12 and change it to 8, you're good.
there you go. All Florida elected officials submit financial disclosure requirements every 6 months.
Again, I think that's overkill myself. I debated this in committee many, many times over the years, and I'm not in favor of that. I would say annually would be the most often that I would support.
Implement nations in action. That's a group we've talked about before. They're good governance guarantee for audits, affidavits, and transparency.
Right. And I think that's critical. I mean, our government, obviously, based on where we are today, we will say that the government will not possibly get off track and self-absorbed and abusive. They definitely will always be that way until we audit them on a regular basis with people who are serious about fiscal responsibility, Chuck. So yes, the Nations in Action organization, which I hesitate to include the name of another organization in our legislative priorities, but that is the best way to explain it concisely because the Nations in Action organization has built that out and have published what that would look like. So let's just adopt what they've done. That's my point of view, Chuck.
There you go. Restrict taxpayer funded lobbying to core governmental responsibilities such as public safety.
Yeah, and again, that's something that our previous chairman, Anthony Sabatini, was big on about eliminating government agencies from hiring a lobbyist, which I totally agree with. So I don't even like the idea. There's a compromise to let government agencies like school boards and county commissions and municipalities use public money to lobby, even on their core activities, because that will get out of hand. Who's going to monitor that? It's not going to happen. So I would just ban public funding of government lobbying altogether. Let the citizens go and lobby their legislators. That would be my solution, Chuck.
There we go. Ban government buildings from flying politicized flags.
Again, that's the old argument that we've been going through in the legislature for many years. It's only government flags on government buildings. Very simple, Chuck.
And then finally, under the ethics and government ban, the removal of monuments, including Confederate, historical, and veterans monuments.
What does that mean, Chuck?
It means we shouldn't be removing statues and monuments, which the left has
100%.
yeah,
Couldn't agree more.
there you go.
So there you go.
So we're moving right along. We may not be too long on our podcast here this morning. Growth management. Codify a comprehensive set of property owners' rights and responsibilities. We've talked about that often.
Yeah, that's something I brought to the table, and I think it needs to be defined. I think that's critical, Chuck.
Okay, and require comprehensive plan updates for local government every 5 years. Again, something.
Yeah, the committee expanded it. I wasn't at the committee meeting when they expanded that. As I was going through this last night, I noticed that they changed it to 5 years, and I'm against that. I think we should be updating our maps on a regular basis and submitting to the state every 2 years. That's my proposal.
I was going to say, I thought you
but
wanted
hey,
to.
you don't get everything you want in one bite, right, Chuck?
There you go. Promote local government home rule for growth management.
I would agree with that, but I also agree that the state of Florida should reinstate the community affairs, what was it called? The community affairs department that would be the liaison between the state and local government, because the state does have growth management concerns that are valid, and the cities and counties there should be a mechanism to bring cities and counties to the table with the state, or if you want to look at it the other way, the state should be required to engage with local government on growth management and the reinstatement of the Community Affairs Department, which was under, let's see, Governor Graham actually in 1985 put together the Growth Management Act, which our County Commissioner Leslie Campione made very public a few months ago. So I'm agreement with Commissioner Campione on that we should reinstate the 1985 Growth Management Act. And then because it has been deconstructed from legislative session to legislative session to the point that our growth management policies are dysfunctional, Chuck.
Development cannot be approved without supporting infrastructure in place.
In theory, I agree with that. So I would say at least there has to be an acceptable plan that the infrastructure would be there before vertical construction happens, Chuck. That needs to be worked out on some wordsmithing.
There you go. Anti-sprawl environmental protection by prioritizing infill and protecting sensitive areas. I wasn't
Yeah,
there. I don't know
that's an
what
interesting
infill
one.
means.
I could do a symposium on that. But the fact of the matter is it costs money to tear buildings down too. So that's the reason that development happens. They push us farther and farther away from city centers is because it's just cheaper to start from scratch, buy some cheap land outside of the city limits and in the county, let's just say. And then put up whatever you want to put up. And then the next thing you know, everybody migrates to the suburbs and the cities, municipal incorporated areas decline because everything in the cities is old and dysfunctional. So I like infill projects, Chuck.
There you go. Raise allowable threshold on impact fees for new developments.
So whoever brought that plank to the table is in favor of raising impact fees. And hey, if the cost of bringing services to new developments is higher and impact fees don't cover it, then maybe that's a good idea, Chuck.
There you go. Further restrict development activities in identified conservation areas.
Yeah, that's a conservation management thing, more so than a growth management thing. That's so there's a couple of ways you can attack that problem, and that would need to be worked out in more detail, Chuck.
Okay. Data centers provide their own power, maximum regulations on water use, noise, and placement.
Yeah, data centers are a big topic today, as we know. We've done quite a bit of work on data centers. So again, I'm a big fan of those nuclear fusion reactors on the power side, and they should have to provide their own power sources. That's it. And if they want to sell power, residual power that they create on site back to the grid, I'm okay with that. But then the water situation is still a problem, and the noise situation is still a problem. So we still have quite a bit of work to do on these data centers, Chuck.
And then the final bullet point on growth management is to continue the continued support of Everglades restoration.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten to the point in my life right now, Chuck, where water quality and air and water quality is uh, high on my list of priorities. And of course, the Everglades is a critical biological uh, factor in the quality of life in Florida. So everything we can do to make sure that I want to use the word restore, I guess, to restore the Everglades to its pristine condition. Over time, we need to do it, Chuck.
There you go. And our final section, sustainability economic improvements. Bullet point one, promote capitalism, growth, and self-reliance over social stagnation and handouts. Capitalism versus socialism / communism, I guess.
I would just challenge whoever brought that plank to the table to say, how do you actually do that? And I have some ideas about it, but I don't think we'll go into it today, Chuck.
Okay. Prohibit the state from subsidizing housing purchases. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably mine. And I agree with that 100%. I think the state should stay out of private sector business, including housing, Chuck.
Ban government guaranteed housing loans and require a down payment.
Yeah, government guaranteed loans are just an opportunity for special interests to um, mischaracterize what they're doing. So I'm not in favor of government guaranteed loans, Chuck.
Okay. Make groceries affordable by designating 25% of all acreage in every county, regardless of municipalities, community farm property.
Yeah, it's so interesting. We recently had the Board of County Commissioners put out some kind of a communication on what they call agri-hoods, which means that these neighborhoods are surrounded by community farms. And that's exactly what we're talking about right here. And I'm a huge supporter of that.
Oh, good. Make electricity affordable by restricting production of Florida's commercial energy producers' output by wind and solar technology to 10% of Florida's electricity requirements. I'm a big
Right.
favor of that. I think wind and solar need to be shut down.
I agree with that. Now, you can look at the experts to determine. I really don't see any use for wind and solar, Chuck. So that's just a matter of the state just choosing not to do that. I mean, we regulate the energy providers, and we should just say that we don't want, if an energy provider can demonstrate that renewable energy sources are effective or efficient and reliable, then we might consider it. But that's not the case. Nobody's making that case. Okay, that is an unsupportable concept. So basically, we have fossil fuels and nuclear, and that's the way we should go, Chuck.
Yeah, well, if someone wants to use, solar powered little light fixtures for their garden, that's that's totally fine. Let them light up their garden with their little solar lights. But let me also remind you that when we have 3 or 4 days of a lot of clouds, your lights might not make it till the morning. That's
Chuck, that's a whole lot different. Telling an individual citizen what they can do is a
right.
whole lot different than telling an energy provider who we rely on for the whole state and the country, right, what they can do. So yeah,
There
I
you
think you
go.
and I are on the same page there.
There you go. Make
Mhm.
electricity affordable by utilizing safe nuclear electricity production technology, and that goes back to your previous
Fusion.
fusion. Yeah,
That's right. I think that's going to be a game changer for the entire world when this company TAE actually brings to market their nuclear fusion energy program, Chuck. I think it's going to change the world like we haven't seen in a very long time.
and our final bullet point: economic impact studies on legislation, paying special attention to the impact on median household income families. Another of your
Yeah.
interests.
Can you believe, Chuck, that we vote for binding legislation, laws that we do not test for economic impact? That to me is there's two things it could possibly be. It could be either stupid or corrupt. So that's the way I see it. That is required. Every single law that gets passed should be evaluated for economic impact on median household income families because that affects everybody, Chuck.
Sure. It sure does. Well, Mike, believe it or not, we got through it in a very, very reasonable amount of time. But I'm sure you would like to make a final comment.
Chuck, I think my comment on this would be that it goes back to the whole idea about whether Republican executive committees should be allowed to offer legislative priorities to our legislative delegations. And, if you say no, that or not just Republican executive committees, but any local chapter of a statewide or national political party that doesn't want to hear from their constituents doesn't represent the people. And I could go into a long because you know what as I just had a conversation with my friend Robin Lum a day or two ago, the political parties were not set up to serve the people. The political parties were set up to create a platform and then recruit the population into the party. So this thing's been broken from its fundamental concept. And now we have a two-party system, basically. We have other political parties, obviously, but no one that could win an election. So basically, we have find ourselves in a situation where it's either this or that. And because the rulers know that we only have two choices, the two parties get together and they make deals about what's good for them. And it completely leaves the median household income family populist politics out of it. And that does not serve this country in any respect, including the economy. When you empower the middle class, you will get a more robust economy. That's just my point of view. And so, again, other people can have other points of view. I'm happy to debate that. So that's where we're at, Chuck. And I think it's really important that legislators are very interested in hearing from the most active citizens in their districts, and a very good way to let legislators know what their constituents think is to encourage resolutions and legislative priorities to come out of the Republican executive committees, Chuck. And I say Republican again, let me retract Republican and say the executive committees from all political parties around the state.
There you
Chuck,
go. Well,
there you go.
our REC is definitely asking our listeners to weigh in, so please do so. And I thank you, Mike Levine, and thank you all for tuning in to our twice weekly live stream. Please follow us on Facebook and X at Restore Our Rep 76. Check us out on YouTube at Restoring Our American Republic ROAR. Please like and share the program. And then remember, if you are unwilling to govern yourself, you will be governed by tyrants. Until next time, God bless you. God bless President Donald J. Trump, and God bless America.